I pulled the data, and what COVID did to Ohio home prices will blow your mind. This wasn't a boom. It was a full-blown shockwave that still ripples through the Ohio housing market, like Mount Vernon, where home prices skyrocketed a mind-numbing 60% in 5 years. And in Mansfield, where home prices are up, are you ready for this? 64% in 5 years. What's worse is that inventory of homes for sale plummeted, leaving home buyers little choice and expensive prices. Not only that, but property taxes have shot through the roof. Insurance costs are unhinged. Meanwhile, wages barely moved. And here's what most people don't realize. This wasn't just about buyer demand. COVID changed how people live and work. It flipped migration patterns. It froze supply, and it rewired the housing market seemingly overnight. So today, I'm breaking down how it happened, what the real impacts were to the housing market here in the Buckeye State, and what it means if you're thinking of buying or selling a home in 2025. Hey, if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Jason Ferrier. I am a Central Ohio realtor and investor. I've been doing it now for 8 years. Think of me as your no BS guide to the Ohio housing market. And I hope you enjoyed today's Ohio Housing Nerd video. Now, we all know home prices skyrocketed across the Buckeye State, but I'm going to dive into some details here and show you exactly the carnage that occurred and how home prices increased and how fast they increased. Take a look at this. If we look at the state of Ohio, you can see we're up about 50% since 2020. But if I look at this chart of historical home prices for the state of Ohio, you can see that starting in 2001, going all the way to 2025, most years we had an increase of home prices year over year. And that's what this chart represents. Now, there were some times during 2008, 2009, all the way up through 2012, where we had home price decline during the great financial crisis, but that was only a handful of years. For the most part, homes appreciated in Ohio 3.5%, 4.5%. But look what happened right before COVID. We actually started to see some home price growth exceeding normal trends, going up 5.3% here in August in 2017. Then in August of 2018, home prices were up 6.4% in Ohio. And that trend of elevated, increased home prices continued. But during COVID, look what happened. It went up, and it went up exponentially. Like, it is clear as day to see how COVID wrecked the housing market in the Buckeye State. I mean, 1 month we had increases of 16 to 17% in home prices. Now, quite frankly, most people are shocked when I show them these numbers on how fast home prices actually went up. Comment below, did you realize home prices increased that fast in Ohio during COVID? But the point is that during COVID, this span right here, we got crushed. And this crashed affordability. For example, in Highland County, home prices were up during the pandemic nearly 70%. And if I look at a graph, you can see that the growth of home prices started in April of 2020, but then it kept going and going and going got to a point where in July of 2021, home prices in Highland County were up nearly 25% in just 1 year. And folks, that's just not sustainable. And the same thing for a county like Perry, where prices went up about 66%. I mean, look at this growth. 1 month here, year over year, 22.4% growth. In July of 2021, again, 23% growth. But comment below and let me know, how much did your home increase in value in the last 5 years? Because a lot of these counties, it was unhinged. Now, one of the fallouts that we had from these high prices was the fact that inventory of homes for sale plummeted, leaving buyers few choices out there, few good, affordable choices anyway. And if you look at this graph going all the way back to 2016, you can see that in July of 2016, we had about 45,000 homes on the market for the whole state. But as we moved from 2016 up until COVID, we saw the number of active homes on the market fall. And the inventory was not helped at all by COVID because people were locked in their houses and had a lot of free money. We'll get to the reasons here in a minute. But make no mistake, people were buying houses left and right at higher and higher prices and causing inventory to continue to be depleted to a point where in March of 2021, we only had 9,000 homes on the market. And as you can see, the inventory actually increased slightly at the end of 2021, but then it fell again to a cycle low of 8,300 homes. But again, let's look at some specific areas of the state where inventory fell the most. One county that caught my eye was Champaign County. Back in 2016, they had about 216 homes on the market, and that number continued to fall all the way until March of 2022. They only had 26 homes for sale in the entire county. And then look at Knox County, where at one time they had 314 homes on the market in 2016, but that number continued to fall all the way down to the low 20s. I mean, 22 homes in the entire county for sale. That's crazy. It's even more troubling when you look at a county like Claremont County, where they had over 600 homes for sale back in 2016. COVID wrecked that in April of 2021. They only had 99 homes for sale in the entire county. Now, you may be saying to yourself, all right, housing nerd, like the carnage is there. We get it. Home prices are unhinged and inventory completely plummeted. But why did that happen? There are three reasons why I think prices went up and inventory plummeted. The first reason is easy to figure out, and that is cheap money. Back in 2017, 30-year fixed mortgage rates were around 4.8 to 5%. And they were actually dropping and falling before COVID. So the fact that mortgage rates were falling before the pandemic did not help the situation. But when the pandemic hit, the bottom fell out of mortgage rates and they went all the way down to 2.7%. And let's face it, consumers are consumers. If the payment's cheap, they'll typically spend more on the item. In this case, real estate and homes. And I'm sure you saw it firsthand. People were paying anything the sellers were asking for properties, and oftentimes paying over asking price. As you can see from this Redfin graph, buyers on average were paying over 100% of the asking price on homes during 2022. And as a realtor, I can tell you I saw it firsthand with my clients that were buyers and sellers. It continued to amaze me month after month during COVID, where buyers would pay 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, even 100,000 over asking just to beat the competition and snag the house. Not only that, but they were waiving inspections, appraisals, basically just saying, "Hello, I'm buying it. I don't care what the price is." Comment below. Did you hear similar stories? Maybe you sold or bought a house and it was over asking. Let us know in the comments. The second reason I think we saw that carnage, and one that a lot of people may overlook, is that when offices shut down during COVID, Ohio became an escape hatch. A lot of people fled big cities, not only in Ohio, but across the country. And they were looking for something affordable and quiet. Ohio fit that bill. Suddenly, small towns and rural areas across the state, places that hadn't seen bidding wars with homes in decades, were seeing multiple offers on every listing. Remote work flipped the migration patterns overnight. For example, in Butler County, Ohio, in 2020 alone, there was a surge of over 7,000 people moving into that county. And then in Van Wert County, where the population grew by 644 people, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a pretty rural county of the state. And in 2020, this stands out. 644 people migrated into the county. And look at Licking County. And this is crazy. In 2020, we had 1,900 people migrate into Licking County. In 2021, it was 1,200. And in 2022, it was 1,800. And in 2023, 1,600. COVID definitely had an effect when it came to work from home and the population shift in the Buckeye State. But I'm curious what you think. Are you seeing more people move into your area, or are they moving out? I'd like to know. The third reason I think people went insane with real estate was the Instagram effect. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but I firmly believe that social media and FOMO, the fear of missing out, significantly changed the mindset of homeowners throughout the US. And I don't think Ohio was really any exception. Let's be honest. You see friends, family, people you just see on social media buying insane houses during COVID. And most people were bored, sitting at home and scrolling through Instagram, scrolling through Facebook. And they say, "Hey, I want a house like that. I want to fit in. So I'm going to go out and find one, oftentimes buying way over their budget and spending over what the seller was asking, as we saw in the stats. And so the low cost of money combined with COVID work patterns and then adding in that Instagram FOMO effect completely wrecked the Ohio housing market and caused prices to go parabolic. But now for some good news. Home price growth has actually slowed significantly. For example, in Ohio, we're only up 3.4% now year over year. I mean, you can look at this chart and see the days of double-digit home price growth, at least for now, are behind us. So statewide home price is only up 3.4%. And if I look at a county look, some counties are barely growing at all. Like here in Licking County, home price is only up 0.5% year over year. And in Franklin County, only up 1.1% year over year. So that's good news on the home price front. At least we're not seeing exponential runaway home price inflation anymore, at least for now. However, there's a counter to that, and that would be the inventory of homes for sale. We're still in Ohio about 30% below pre-pandemic levels when it comes to the number of homes available. And in some counties, the inventory situation is much worse. Like in Cuyahoga County, the number of homes for sale is actually down nearly 40% since before the pandemic. But there are counties like Franklin County where we have more homes for sale than we did before the pandemic. We're actually up 5.6% in Franklin County. So it really depends on where you live in Ohio. That'll dictate what you're seeing with inventory, obviously, because real estate's hyper local. Let me know in the comments, are you seeing more or less homes on the market? One of the main reasons why we're still seeing low inventory is a lot of sellers and homeowners locked into ultra low interest rates. One of the reasons why I think we're still seeing lower inventory overall in the state and many places in Ohio is because homeowners are locked into lower interest rates than what we have right now. I mean, the 30-year fixed mortgage rate as of today is about 6.36%. Well, during COVID, we could see that the 30-year fixed rate was in the low twos. So a lot of owners locked themselves into that low rate. And now they really don't have an incentive to put their home on the market and move up into the next house. And that's keeping a lot of inventory off the street. And that low inventory is keeping prices elevated. Although they're not exponentially growing anymore, they haven't crashed either. And so if you're buying in Ohio right now, depending on where you live, you could be seeing inventory levels still way below historical trends. And what I'm hearing from my viewers right now and other realtors throughout the state is that even though we are seeing more inventory start to build, a lot of the inventory that's out there are not great homes, not move-in ready, not what a lot of buyers want. And when a home does hit the market that buyers want, it goes fast. So my advice to a lot of buyers is to be patient, hunt hard, hunt off market, because there are sellers out there that need to sell their home. Maybe they bought at the peak of the market back in 2022, 2023, and they're like, hey, I overpaid for my house. Now I need to get out of it. And that could be an opportunity for you. If you're selling, you got to keep in mind it's not 2021 anymore. So price your home correctly. You do not want to overprice it and have it sit on the market. That usually ends up with a lower sale price than if you started at a lower price to begin with. And I'm seeing a lot of cancellations right now because buyers are contingent on selling their current home. And right now, if they don't price that home right, it'll sit and not sell, causing them to actually have to walk away from the purchase contract that they're in. So pricing your existing home competitively, maybe even in a compelling way to make a buyer go, that price is pretty good, is a good way to go to market versus overpricing it, thinking you're going to come down, which usually doesn't work in a normal market. Now, if you learned something on this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the Ohio Housing Nerd. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate in Central Ohio or anywhere in the state for that matter, give me a call. I'm happy to help. And YouTube thinks you'll like my next video right here.